In this video talk, we look at how equity splits enables a more direct connection between enterprise and investment. And we start by looking at both the enterprise and the investment from the lens of the cash flow waterfall. This starts with revenues that flow through the enterprise, first to pay the cost of maintaining the required configuration of knowledge, networks, and routines by which those revenues are being generated in the first place. The next use of cash would be to pay principal and interest on any debt included in the capital stack for the enterprise. Debt also contributes to the ability of the enterprise to generate revenues and therefore is rewarded for its contribution. After debt, we apply cash to equity splits, which are providing additional capacity for the enterprise to continue generating its revenues. And lastly, we see cash flows going to the enterprise organizer, whose genius, whose personal investment of time, effort, expertise, and enthusiasm is what's driving this whole cash flow waterfall really in the first place. We have this little arrow pointing out here to show that although this cash flow waterfall diagram is kind of a closed loop, it recurs, and the organizer keeps generating more cash flows as it continues. And what's going on is these enterprise organizers know how to make and market these unique artifacts that customers are paying a price for, which is what's generating the revenues that drive the enterprise. And so we talk about the enterprise organizer really as the owner, because they own the business, they know how to run the business, they know how to keep the cash flow flowing. The equity investors are really, in our model, just that. They're just investors. They're putting their money into the investment, and they have an interest in making sure that their money is used well, but for the most part, they're not really interested in or able to actually run the business. And so that's why we talk about a split of the equity between the investors and the owners. And that split gets done through sharing formulas that will adjust automatically as pre-agreed performance milestones get reached over time. And so you can see what's happening here in this little diagram. The investors get taken care of first because they are investors, they're not owners. And so they get a large share of the cash flows. In this case, it's 90%. That's until they get back a return of their original investment. And that happens pretty quickly in this example, which indicates that this is an investment in an enterprise that has a fair amount of uncertainty attached to its longevity. And then you can see the sharing falls down to the investors, which means the ownership shares are building up over time as performance milestones are reached, threshold returns are being capped. The investor is getting that net return that the equity split architecture is designed to deliver. Eventually, the pre-agreed minimum thresholds are reached, and then the investor sharing drops down to a ratable share, in this case 20% of cash flows, and that continues for as long as the enterprise continues. That's very important. That's why we've got this open-ended arrow pointing out here. We can't illustrate that in a graphic because we've got a limited amount of space, but there's really no theoretical limit on the amount of time that the enterprise is going to continue and that the investment is going to continue to generate cash flow. That's a very important feature of what we're doing here. So you can see here how the owners and the investors are both mutually aligned in getting these investors their preferred returns. They need to get their money back. They need to hit their market return. Both parties want to get here because this is a happy place for both parties. The investors have their money back, and yet they're still earning on that money. The owners have gotten their money, their responsibility to their investors satisfied, and although they're happily continuing to give them a slice of the pie, you can see they've acquired control over most of the money coming through the enterprise. They can reinvest it in the ways that they see fit, or they can take it out and keep it for their own account. But that's how an equity split allows for a direct alignment of interest along multiple points of value. Thank you.